Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton, and today's album is Late for the Sky by Mr. Jackson Browne. Now, I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Being from Jackson, Mississippi, I always thought that one of the great crimes of sports is that the Cleveland Browns never moved to Jackson. I think that is a perfect opportunity that is completely wasted, because I think everyone could pull for the Jackson Browns. But having said all of that, I'm going to talk about Late for the Sky, released on September 13th, 1974. This was Jackson Browne's third album. Now, Jackson Browne is, is one of those artists that had written quite a few songs and was quite young and was finding some hits. Now, he was signed to Asylum Records through David Geffen, and his previous album cost a lot of money, and so this album had to be recorded quicker and for less money. So he used his touring band, which featured David Lindley, Doug Haywood, Larry Zack, Jai Winding, and of course Jackson played piano and acoustic guitar. And he went in and recorded with Al Schmidt, who was an engineer on the previous album. And they recorded it in 6 weeks, and at half the cost, $50,000 it cost to record this album. Now, there were several other people that contributed to this album, because Jackson Browne had a lot of buddies in Southern California. Notably Dan Fogelberg, Don Henley, and J.D. Souther. They did some harmonies on this album. And there's only 8 songs on the album, but 4 of them are longer than 5 minutes. Now, the title track, Late for the Sky, a lot of people know that song from the Martin Scorsese film Taxi Driver. And Before the Deluge, also on this album, was recorded by John Baez. And they actually did the song later on together. A couple other singles were Walking Slow and Fountain of Sorrow. Bruce Springsteen, when he inducted Jackson Browne into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Bruce called this album his masterpiece. And I might agree with Bruce. I haven't listened to all of Jackson's albums, but this is a solid album. And it did go on to rank number 372 on the Rolling Stone list of greatest albums of all time. Now, I want to acknowledge something here quickly, because James Griffiths commented when I showed that I was spinning this on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, TommyBurton75. I show what I'm spinning on there. But James commented about the cover and how much he loved this album cover. This was inspired by the 1954 painting Empire of Light, which was a Magritte painting. And so the album has the credit that Jackson Browne, cover concept Jackson Browne, If It's All Reet with Magritte. But this was shot on a residential street, but it was inspired by that particular painting, and it's gone on to be considered one of the great album covers. And I understand why. It's beautiful. The sky and just the composition of this has held up very well. It's a really nice album. Initially it was sort of released to mixed reviews. But I think it's gone on to hold its place, because the songs are nice. This is not an album that's going to just blow you away, but it is an album that you can put on and enjoy. It's melodious. It's strong. It's a little bit sad, I'm not gonna lie, but it's a nice listen. It's a good, solid album, and I think that's Jackson Browne's forte, to be honest. I wouldn't put Jackson Browne in a league with guys like Bob Dylan as a writer, but I definitely can see how his albums hold a place, because they are enjoyable and they're pleasant records, and this one is no exception, and it's a good place to start with Jackson Browne. So that's why I chose Late for the Sky as today's daily record. Thanks to everyone that watches. Like I said, comment, subscribe, share. I gave the plug for the Instagram and Twitter. follow my main channel, Tommy Burton's VC channel, you should really be subscribing to both of these channels. But this one will keep rolling tomorrow, and I'll see you again with another daily record.